Once upon a time, in a faraway kingdom, there lived a kind and beautiful girl named Cinderella. She lived with her wicked stepmother and two stepsisters, Anastasia and Drizella, who treated her like a servant. They made her do all the household chores, cooking, cleaning and serving them, while they lived in luxury. Cinderella's father had passed away, leaving her alone with this cruel family. Despite their harsh treatment, she remained kind-hearted and hopeful, often finding comfort in her animal friends, Gus and Jack the mice, the birds, and her loyal dog Bruno. Every day, Cinderella dreamed of a better life, one where she could be free and happy. But her stepmother made sure she never had a chance to enjoy herself, always piling more work on her shoulders. One day, an announcement arrived from the palace. The king was hosting a grand royal ball, and all the young women of the kingdom were invited. The prince was searching for a bride, and this was a chance for every maiden to meet him. Cinderella was excited. "I can go too," she thought. But her stepmother and stepsisters laughed at her. "You go to the ball. You don't even have a dress," they sneered. Determined, Cinderella found an old dress that had belonged to her mother, and began fixing it with the help of her animal friends. They stitched lace, added ribbons, and made it beautiful. But when she proudly showed her new dress, her jealous stepsisters ripped it apart and left her in tears. As they went to the ball, leaving Cinderella heartbroken, she ran to the garden and cried under a large tree. She had lost all hope.
Just when Cinderella thought all was lost, a soft glow appeared. An old woman with a warm smile stood before her. It was her fairy.
"Don't cry, my dear. You shall go to the ball," the fairy said. With a flick of her wand she chanted, "Bibbidi-bobbidi-boo." Pumpkin transformed into a golden carriage. Her mice friends turned into horses. Her dog Bruno became a coachman. And her rags turned into a breathtaking gown, sparkling like the stars, with glass slippers on her feet. "But remember, my child," the fairy warned, "the magic will only last until midnight. You must return before then." Overjoyed, Cinderella stepped into the carriage and set off to the palace. At the grand palace, the ball was in full swing. The prince was unimpressed with the ladies he met, until he saw Cinderella. As she entered, everyone gasped. She was so radiant that her stepmother and stepsisters did not recognize her. The prince was mesmerized and asked her for a dance. They waltzed across the ballroom, lost in each other's eyes. Cinderella felt like she was in a dream. But then, the clock began to strike midnight. "Oh no!" she gasped, realizing the magic was about to break. She pulled away and ran from the palace, leaving the prince calling after her. As she hurried down the grand staircase, one of her glass slippers slipped off. She didn't have time to stop. She rushed into the carriage, which turned back into a pumpkin just as she reached home. All that was left of her magical night was one glass slipper. The next morning, the prince was determined to find the mysterious girl. The only clue he had was the glass slipper. He ordered his men to search the entire kingdom and try the slipper on every maiden. When they reached Cinderella's house, her stepsisters tried to force their feet into the slipper, but it didn't fit. Just as the royal servants were about to leave, Cinderella appeared. Her stepmother tried to stop her, but the Duke insisted she try on the slipper. To everyone's amazement, it fit perfectly. Cinderella then pulled out the other slipper from her pocket. She proved she was the girl the prince had danced with. Soon she was brought to the palace, where she reunited with the prince. Overjoyed, he married her, and Cinderella became a princess. She forgave her stepmother and stepsisters but never let them treat her badly again. Cinderella and the prince lived happily ever after, proving that kindness, hope, and courage always lead to happiness.